Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Hampstead School Board meeting of Tuesday, January 26, 2021. Before we begin, I'm going to read our COVID statement. As chair of the Hampstead School Board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen to this meeting by dialing the following phone number: 888-475-4499 or 877-853-5257. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom telephonetically. Instructions have also been provided on the district website at hsdschools.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please email hmstechnology@hsdschools.net. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Melissa, will you please call the roll attendance?
Megan Malcolm.
I'm here, alone in the room. Others are in the house.
Caitlin Parnell.
Here, I'm alone in the room. There are other members of my family in the house.
David Smith.
I am here alone in the room with others in my house.
Jim Sweeney.
Here, alone in this room, others in the house. Thank you.
Karen Yusenka.
Here, alone in the room, there are others in the house.
Thank you. And Executive Consultant Dr. Earl Metzler.
Present in my home office, and there are other members of my family in the home. Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have joining us Pinkerton Student Liaison, Emma Johnston.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, board members. Actually, first, I would like to say welcome back to Emma. We're very glad to have you back. It's been a weird year, and we're thrilled to be able to start getting updates from you again.
Yeah, glad to be back for sure.
Okay, board members, we have 8 sets of minutes, so I hope you reviewed these ahead of time, but I'll give everyone a few minutes to review. We have the December 8th regular and non-public meeting minutes, the January 6th special and non-public meeting minutes, the January 8th special meeting, the January 12th bond and budget public hearings and special meeting, and then January 13th, our non-public hearing. We can take these all at once or we can split them up, whatever the will of the board is, but take a few minutes to review so we know how we want to take these. And when people are ready, I'll take a motion or multiple motions. I'm going to start off by asking board members if we want to do these all together.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd like to make a motion to accept the 12/8 meeting minutes, the regular meeting, the January 6th special meeting minutes. Tell me if I'm wrong. January
You've got
8th
non-pub-
special meeting.
Hold on,
Did I
Jim,
miss
you've got,
something?
do you want to do the non-public in this as well?
Yeah, why
Because we
not?
had non-publics, okay, we had non-publics on the 8th and the 12th as well. I mean, Jesus,
How about I say this?
the 8th and 6th.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes that you previously just mentioned.
That works. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or comments on these minutes? Okay, seeing none. Melissa, will you please call the roll vote?
Ms. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mrs. Yusenka.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We are next going to do public comments. Melissa, I believe we have some this evening.
Yes, Madam Chair, that's correct. We have 3 registered participants for public comments tonight. They are all residents of Hampstead. So we can start with the first one who submitted her request, Eliza Wixon.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Mike, can you please
So
find
that
that
is the only,
participant?
that is the only one I can't locate.
Okay,
So unless there's the name is not matching any of the names of the attendees. The other 2 are present.
Okay.
So let me look up the email address that was submitted and go from there.
okay. What I think we'll do then, we'll move to the next person while we try to find Ms. Wixon, and I will, if the will of the board, if we go a little over 10 minutes while we're trying to find it, if it's all right with the board, we'll give some leeway there. Melissa, I believe next we had
Caitlin, can I make a
Roxanne
recommendation?
Oh, sorry, yes.
In the attendees, maybe if we just ask one of them to raise their hand, then we'll know which one it is. Can they do
Oh,
that?
that's a good point.
Hang
Ms. Wixon, if you're here, if you could
on one second.
raise your hand. Oh,
There we go. Now she can raise her hand.
okay. So if you're
Ready?
here, if you could raise your hand.
There we go. Got it.
Okay. Thank you, Dr.
No.
Metzler. Good suggestion. Use our tools where we have them.
Sorry about that. Multiple kids using multiple devices.
I understand that. Go ahead, Ms. Wixon.
So my name is Liza Wixon. I live at 223 Main Street here in Hampstead. Many of you know me. I have 2 kids in the school. I have lived here my whole life. And I also work at the school as a para. I am here to talk to you because I feel very strongly about warrant Article 2 and 4 for the future of our schools and our students in this town. This is a very emotional topic for me as an employee and a parent of kids that are in this school. Next year's prediction is 505 kids, which is 60 more than we already have. And we are currently working and learning in a school that cannot accommodate the population we have. When closets are converted to classrooms and special services need to be done anywhere in the building that is available, which can change daily, hourly, and minutely, our students are losing. And we are at a critical place where every foot we lose hurts our students. The idea of giving up 1 more inch of our library for our kids not to have a book they need for a research project or even just to read is an awful idea to me as a parent and an employee of the school. When our kids go to music class and they can't hear Amanda Stark playing the piano because it's lunchtime, our kids are losing, and they are all our kids. I don't care if you're a grandparent or if you just live in this town and support this town. These are our kids, and we should all be working together to make their school better for them. Right now, I feel if we don't start doing this now, we are going to lose more than we're ever going to be able to gain back. And I just wanted to put that out there as a parent and an employee, that these are things we need to look at now and fix now before we lose complete control of the situation. So thank you for letting me speak, and I will let the next person speak.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wixon. Okay. Melissa, I believe next is Ms. Mcgafigan.
That's correct.
Thank you. So Mike, we are looking for Roxanne Mcgafigan.
Got it.
Okay.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I have to
Thank
tell
you.
Yes, everybody who knows me well enough, I love to talk. I am never more nervous than I am right now because this is how passionate I am about this. So I have notes, bear with me. But I want to say, first of all, thank you for giving me the time to address everyone here. And I do hope my message extends further than here and into the public. You know, my name is Roxanne Mcgafigan. I live on Sylvester Lane, and I'm speaking in favor of warrant articles 2 and 4 that address the much needed addition to the Hampstead Central School and making improvement to the 60s wings. Why I'm supporting this, and I'm gonna be honest, I haven't until very recently. And some of this may come as a surprise because like many of us here, we have a relatively long history of the town. If you go to the Muffin at like 6:55 is when most of them walk in, they've known me since I was a tiny kid. So my immediate family moved back here about 8 years ago, and all 3 of my children have attended part or all of the 8 years at the Hampstead schools. And if I make, part of this though is I think too is the draw people come here is for educational purposes. We had a choice from the Army to move anywhere in the country. We came back home. I mean, and I think that's why that draws a lot of people here. But like I said, I'm gonna go back to this. I haven't been for the renovation, but not necessarily against it. And I'm trying to reach the people now who are undecided or have felt like I have. Tired. Been tired of the name calling, tired it was perceived as frivolous spending, bells and whistles, tired of hearing what I should be doing or thinking, which by the way, is I've been advocating for the word should to be taken out of all of this. It's what we can and what we need to do. And for those who have been tirelessly advocating for school renovations with their sweat and heart wide open, please, we need to get rid of that word should and what we need. Because there's a reason someone says no or yes. It's not that like people like me don't want to open their wallet. Some of us are fiscally insecure right now. But I keep going, me in the past too, I've had a lot of mistrust with what's going on. Again, I have history with the town and a lot of people feel like that. But I have been, let's see, I'm lost my place. There we go. This time, this is what I'm trying to say, guys. This is different. And this is why I'm here. And this is why all you naysayers, you got to get on board with this. This is the first plan I have seen, I can see with confidence, addresses every area from bolstering the health conditions. Hello, we had to suck in the bus vents, you know, the bus fumes when we were little. We're still doing it to our kids. This is absolutely unhealthy and wrong. From that to addressing efficient use of the building, the plan covers that. I worked as a para at the schools for a little bit, Central School. Nothing like having a bunch of kindergartners trying to run around a maze when someone maybe needs to run to the nurse's office quickly. It's not efficient. It is not safe at all. And so this is the first plan that I have felt is responsible, addressing efficient use of the building. And again, I'm imploring those who have felt like I have to listen because these articles are simply about efficient use of existing space, creating more space without frivolous details, and updating some environmental space safety, of which I didn't realize when we first moved here, the sprinkler systems. How many of you would go in a plane that had grandfathered safety issues in? Not me. I used to fly planes when I was younger. I would never imagine doing that. And I can't imagine doing that to the kids. So if you have an ounce of doubt, please reach out. I'm not a hard person to find in this town. Let's fix what needs fixing in 2 well-detailed, simple, efficient plans. Please support warrant articles 2 and 4. And thank you so much for your time, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Mcgafigan. Okay. Melissa, I believe we have Sarah Wisecarver next up.
That is correct.
Ms. Wisecarver, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, school board members and citizens of Hampstead. My name is Sarah Wisecarver and I live at 33 Oldham Road. My family has resided in Hampstead for 16 years. I have 3 children, a daughter in high school, a son at HMS, and another son at HCS. I am also an educator at Hampstead Central School. I am speaking tonight to encourage our residents to learn more about warrant article number 2, the addition to the Central School, and warrant article number 4, the renovation at Central School to the 1960s wing. In 2005, my husband and I chose to move to Hampstead because we knew firsthand that the school system was incredible. After having our children in the Hampstead School District for more than 10 years, we have not been disappointed. Our children have flourished here. In fact, one of the many reasons that I chose to work in the Hampstead District was for the opportunity to collaborate with these dedicated and passionate teachers. The educators of Hampstead continue to be one of the greatest assets to this town. Additionally, we have many devoted volunteers who consistently work hard to support both the students and teachers in our school. Hampstead students are curious risk takers who I am confident will make this world a better place. But despite all this, there is one area that we must drastically improve upon: the building itself. Unfortunately, the Hampstead Central School is in dire need of both an addition and a renovation. Currently, we have over 100 students in the 3rd grade class, and the Hsdsb projections show that we will have more than 90 students at every grade level beginning next year. Simply put, we do not have the capacity for this amount of incoming learners. This year, our school library has been divided in half in order to accommodate additional student support services. It is projected that our library will continue with half of its space next year, and an additional grade level classroom will utilize the other half. This is unacceptable. Furthermore, the additional student resources that are currently utilizing the library space will not be going away. Without an addition, these services will once again be displaced to an undetermined location. This is just one example of the need for additional space that the renovation and addition will provide. Our 1960s wing, which currently houses the kindergarten and 3rd grade classrooms, have inadequate heating and cooling systems. These rooms get sweltering hot in the summer and bitterly cold in the winter. This fluctuation in temperature not only negatively impacts the learning in these classrooms, but it is not energy efficient. A couple of years back, on very hot days, the library and my classroom space were both used by 3rd grade and 4th grade students to work and learn to get a respite from the heat in their hot rooms. Next year, this option will not be possible. The teachers, administrators, volunteers, and students of Hampstead continue to define what an exemplary educational environment is. It's time that our facilities match this expectation. Please make an informed decision regarding warrant articles number 2 and number 4 for our community, our schools, and our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wisecarver. Okay, next up, I need to open a public hearing because we have a donation that needs this process. So I'm saying the public hearing is open, and I'm going to ask Mrs. Denola, our middle school principal, to speak to this item. Mrs. Denola, are you there?
I
Can you-
am.
Okay. Go
Using-
ahead, you have the floor.
Using 3 monitors. I think
Yeah.
I'm at the camera. Okay, I'm going over,
Yep.
over here.
Yep.
Okay. I am respectfully requesting permission of the Hampstead School Board to accept an anonymous donation of $5,000 from a generous community member. So I am just floored by this generosity, especially at such a hard time in our world's climate and all the struggles that we're having. But I would like to request permission to accept this.
Okay, board, do we have a motion to accept the anonymous $5,000 donation?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a second? Oh, David? Okay, any comments or questions from board members?
Yes. Mr. Nola, what do you plan on using the money for? Just
We
wondering.
will designate it as student activities, and once accepted, our leadership team will absolutely start thinking about activities for our kids, whether they are remote or they're in person. We have dreams of perhaps getting speakers that speak to our children's with regards to their situation that they're going on and the social emotional piece of it. But we're also truly, we've talked about this, and we would love to just focus on the day that we can be all together and celebrate and just do a really large community event at our school, safe distancing. But this is exciting. We really are looking forward to our kids being together. Sorry, that's my best friend who's a principal in Seattle.
No problem.
Telling me her travels of the day. So I apologize.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, no, get off the phone, no. That's Elizabeth. They've been out of school since March 13th. They haven't come back at all. So it's worldwide here.
Yes, for sure. Okay, board members, any other comments or questions? Okay, Melissa, will you please call the roll vote?
Ms. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes, and thank you to the anonymous donor. Thank you.
and Mrs. Yasenka.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries to accept the donation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm closing the public hearing. So now we will go back to our regular meeting. And next up, we're going to have an update from Emma on everything going on with Pinkerton.
Yeah, so I wanted to start by saying how glad I am to be back. It's nice to see you all. It's been a while, but it's nice to be back because I was coming to these meetings for 2 years straight, so the break was odd. So I wanted to start with some COVID-19 updates, and I know we've all heard nonstop about that, but I know they're important and it affects some of what I'm talking about later in my report. But essentially, as you probably have heard, 3 clusters have been identified at Pinkerton, so this is now labeled as an outbreak. We were supposed to go back to hybrid this past Monday. However, due to the outbreak, we have had to push going to hybrid until hopefully February 5th. So that's where we're looking right now. In terms of athletics and COVID, we were able to have tryouts and practices, and then certain teams were able to play games, which was great. However, for now, they'll be paused until February 5th as well. But basketball and hockey were able to play games, and skiing, basketball, gymnastics, and hockey were all able to practice and play, which was great, and very excited for the athletes to be able to do that. I personally don't play a winter sport, but my brother does, and it definitely, he needed that. So next, I'm going to be talking about midterms. So we had midterms and finals for the past 2 weeks. Essentially, we had a normal schedule going on. However, teachers were told to try to fit in a final exam or a midterm exam sometime within the last 2 weeks. So it's been a bit stressful, but got through it. And semester 1 ended yesterday as well. And so we'll be beginning semester 2 tomorrow. And I have one class that switches, but that's basically it. It's not a big change. And then for events that are going on at Pinkerton, obviously you can probably tell nothing's happening in person. However, last Thursday, the National Technical Honor Society held their induction via a Facebook Live, similar to the NHS induction and the Foreign Language Honor Society induction as well. And Educators Rising, which is a club for future educators at Pinkerton, they have begun a challenge to encourage students to have cameras on during class for a chance to win a gift card, to encourage participation and making sure students aren't just in bed listening to class, and to just build motivation in general, because that seems to be lacking these days. I'm guilty of it too. So, but yeah, that's basically all I have. I mean, I know it's been a while, but these are the more recent things that I felt were most important to update you all on. Yeah.
Caitlin, if I could.
Thank you, Emma. Oh, yes, go ahead, Dr. Metzler.
Yeah, and I wanted to welcome Emma back, but I also wanted to say, sometimes, when you don't think anybody's watching, you catch kids doing really great things. And, I watched Emma in the fall as a field hockey captain, and she's a spectacular athlete, just like her brother. But that's not why I bring this up. What I was most impressed as a captain of the varsity team, Emma took the time to go to the lower levels, to the JV games, the freshman games, and supported the whole team. I mean, she's incredible. She really is incredible. And that means so much to so many people. And I know that's, you were elected captain for a reason, and you did an outstanding job, and you continue to do an outstanding job as our student rep. So welcome back, Emma, and thank you. And good luck with your college choices. I know you probably have some great options, and we wish you nothing but the best. So welcome back. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Well said. And we are very glad to have you back with a little bit of normalcy somehow. Board members, does anybody have any questions, or, don't spring anything on Emma, but if there's anything that you would like to check in with her on, please speak up. Okay. All right, Emma, we look forward to your next update. Okay, moving on to current business. First up, we have our 2020-2021 Safe Learning Plan update. Mr. Flynn, I believe you're going to be speaking to this.
Dr. Metzler, do you want to go first, or myself? It's up to you.
No, Mike, that's great. You can kick it off, and we'll kind of go back and forth. I know we've discussed this quite a bit over the last few weeks, so why don't you start with your part, and I'll jump in with the the break and those sorts of things.
Absolutely. So welcome to 2021, and it's a reminder of how far we've come so far, and what in this brief update this evening, that we're going to hit on a couple of points, but one, I want to make sure that we compliment not just the staff, but also the families and the community for those 2 weeks following the holiday break. Those first 2 weeks back in January, it was a different feel, and certainly at the middle school with a different schedule. We saw a lot of great things come out of that new design with the students and the interaction with the teachers on that 5-day basis in both weeks. But we saw a lot of great things at both the central school and the middle school in those 2 weeks. The reason why I bring this up is, you know, you have not received a letter from Dr. Metzler and I in regards to a positive case. Those cases that occurred throughout those 2 weeks, we've just been monitoring with the nursing staff, and we've been updating the dashboard as necessary. Chances are you're going to start to see a letter here sooner rather than later, is what the trends are showing, and we'll continue to communicate that as we move forward. But those 2 weeks were outstanding for the staff. I know they did a lot of new things that they had not done previously since we were in a full remote mode. So it's a compliment to them to continue involved with what's going on in the world, but within our school, and helping the students succeed. Which then leads me into the current numbers. We've been in a good spot. You know, Hampstead, the community, the staff and the students have done a phenomenal job of following the procedures and practices we need to continue to have a safe learning environment. And that means keeping a student home if they may have a symptom, listening to our nurses and their advice when a parent calls on how to handle the situations, and also the staff being diligent amongst themselves. So it's a compliment to everyone in this community. As you can see with Pinkerton and other towns around, things have been popping up, but we've been able to manage it. So it's really, I just want to say thank you to everyone. In order to continue this motion with students, everyone has to do their due diligence in participating and doing the right thing. So, and with that, I'm going to pass it along to Dr. Metzler, and he's got a couple updates as well.
Thanks, Mike. You know, first, you know, good guy, bad guy, right? So he gets to, but no, not completely. But first, you know, I want to take this opportunity to thank Jeff Mackey, certainly, and the facilities staff. You know, during the break, you know, the amount of work that was completed, you know, our buildings are in really great shape, and that team is really, really important in terms of being able to keep everyone safe, our students safe, our staff safe, admin, you know, and families, and anybody that's using the buildings for any reason. So again, they just did an outstanding job. So, you know, that leads me to, you know, where we were, where we are, and where we're going, right? So I'll stand by, you know, our plan. Our plan has been conservative, I will admit. You know, we have had probably the fewest amount of disruptions in comparison to other districts, primarily because I believe our Hampstead bubble, if you will, staff and our students and our families have all done. Has it been perfect? Of course not, but it's been pretty close. I mean, because we've been able to avoid, you know, those transitions where grades get shut down or buildings get shut down. Getting to Christmas the Christmas break was tricky. We limped in, you know, our staff was really strained. Our staff is strained now as we go, and you're seeing what's happening. And Emma said, you know, she told you about the clusters at Pinkerton, which we're all aware of. You know, clusters are when multiple people are impacted by the same source, and to have multiple clusters going on eventually gets labeled an outbreak. You know, we've been fortunate, knock on wood, with whatever we've had to manage. So, you know, right now I know we sent out a survey, and people will say, well, why didn't you ask more about outside New England? You know, I have obviously been talking with our unions. Our hope was late winter, early spring, that we'd be able to increase, you know, maybe to 4 days, maybe completely 5 days in-person learning. We're just not there yet. Just being honest, we're just not there yet. We're working on that. We had hoped again for a more aggressive vaccine program. The state has been a little slow. I know they're trying to pick up the pace there, and so we're hoping, you know, that will be helpful as we look forward to that. We have information, you know, and we're putting information together. We have concerns about being able to come back even hybrid after February vacation. So that decision, we'll come back with a recommendation on the 9th of February. But right now, you know, staff is strained, and we believe it will continue to be strained after vacation. So this is not about blaming and shaming. We ask families, very similar to how we talk to staff, you know, what are your plans? Will you be leaving New England? Will you be traveling at all? Those sorts of things, to try to get the best information to keep everybody safe. Now, again, I believe it's our conservative plan that has kept us from being exposed to clusters, being exposed to having to shut grades down and schools down. Again, our hope will be that we'll be able to continue and come right back after vacation. But we're going to have to take a hard look at that, because in the event that we can't come back safely, we'll have to make a recommendation, do something similar to what we did after the Christmas break, to make sure the buildings are clean and everybody's ready to come back. We could have overlapping quarantine where some people that tested positive or have cases before the break and then after the break. And so it really comes down to, can we staff, can we run efficiently and effectively our buildings that day after vacation, or does it make more sense, the long game, so we can get back into school full time, to not take that risk? So that decision has not been made, but it is something that's on the radar. We are talking about it. It was a good strategy after Christmas break. Is it a good strategy after February break? We're not sure yet. Many of the districts around us are going fully remote already, or in the process of talking about it, even before February break. So our plan is, again, hope to get the February break. On the 9th of February, we'll know for sure kind of what our plan is. We don't want to wait until that weekend before we come back to tell you, oh, by the way, we can't open on Monday. We want to make a decision on the 9th so that people have at least, a week and a half or so to plan. So that's where that is. Again, I'll echo what Mr. Flynn said. We appreciate it. We're not, we understand the struggles. We understand that everyone's not happy. We understand this doesn't work for everybody. We're just trying to do the best we can to keep everyone safe and make sure that we're able to, try to get to whatever's next. And our hope, again, that is not left. Our hope, again, is to get everyone back in person late winter into early spring. I think that may kind of coincide with this, as the vaccination schedule kind of aggressively increases in the state of New Hampshire, and hopefully we'll be in a good shape here. So that's our update, our safe learning plan update. Caitlin, I didn't know if board members had questions. Mr. Flynn and I are more than happy to let you know as much as we know, and then we can go from there.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Metzler and Mr. Flynn. Any board members, do we have questions? Megan, go ahead.
Okay. So I think the second quarter ends this week. Wondering if maybe for our next board meeting, we could get another snapshot of the academic progress. I don't know if we saw one at the end of the second quarter, the first quarter, but by grade level, that simple chart. And then also if there are some student engagement measurements that can be shared, whatever that may look like.
So I understand what you're asking for, Megan, and my question is really to Mike, in a sense. We want it to look like what we presented, I believe, at the end of last year, so we can compare kind of where we are this year with last year, or we want something specific just to this year? And Mike, how quickly can we turn that around in terms of data points about student engagement?
So the quarter closes the 29th, but grades aren't, teachers have, I don't know if the 4th is plausible. I'm not saying no, but I also, the teachers have a different timeline for closing their grades and reporting out. But I could certainly put something together. And then engagement, yeah, we can certainly follow the trends we've been doing. We can talk with the students, survey them with the buildings, as well as what activities. I know the middle school has several things going on, including the play. So we can certainly calculate all those things as well.
Yeah, I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, like Megan.
Yeah.
I think the spirit of the engagement piece is, I think the question, and Megan, correct me if I'm wrong, he just wants to know that we have a high percentage, just like attendance, of kids engaged
Oh yeah,
on a daily basis, in person and online. Correct?
Yes, and also how they're feeling too.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
And the social emotional piece too. So I think,
Yeah.
well, that might be this might be a good time to think about at the end of the second quarter here, just sending something out that, we can obviously get the grades and that sort of, but to ask that second part of that, to come up with something to talk about, checking in with people in terms of social and emotional, if there's some way, I know, Mike, we sent something out recently, but something maybe more specific to that topic, and then we'll put together some sort of report. May not have it for the 9th. It may be the meeting after the next meeting after that. But we'll try to have it for the 9th. We'll see how much we can get put together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Board members, anyone else? Okay. I think we're all set then on the learning update. Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Thank you, Dr. Metzler, for that.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Central School Addition and Renovation Project Update. Mr. Smith, I believe you're going to speak to this.
Yep, I'm going to speak for a few minutes, and then I'll jump into sharing my screen. So just want to say, thank you, fellow board members, administrators, staff, community members, and really everybody else on the call and everybody that's been working to help promote this and work towards the goal of bringing these 2 warrant articles. And, just want to take some time here to say, we know that over the years, the school board and community have worked tirelessly on providing the best plan for the kids and gaining as much community support as possible. And tonight, we're not going to go through the plan details. We're not going to go through the cost of the plan. We have done that many times. Recently, past few months, we've done a lot of different communications. Instead, what we're going to do is just discuss what we've done recently to get the word out and some of our plans going forward. So I'm going to start saying, over the last 3 weeks, Megan and I have met with groups and leaders around this town to provide the information and costs pertaining to the 2 warrant articles being put forth. They're being put forth to elevate the educational experience in Hampstead. It's not just about the building, it's about improving that educational experience. We would like to say thank you to a few of those groups that we've met with for their time, the discussions, the honesty we've had, as well as the questions that they've asked have been some really great questions and some good just dialogue. And ultimately just inviting us to be part of their group meetings. Namely, we would like to communicate our appreciation to the Moms Club, to the Greater Salem Rotary Club, and of course to the selectmen who allowed us to talk. I would also like to note we have worked with other school districts to understand their best practices. We've talked to them about the best way that they were able to display and communicate information that supports our kiddos' education, as well as other board members and leaders to learn from them about what ways were successful for their school districts. So with that, one area that we had repeatedly heard from talking to other leaders in the communities that we visited and talked to was that, to have a grassroots community team is really what's needed, something that, we need to promote more and to look for volunteers in the town, because school board members, we know we can't do it by ourselves. So I'm ecstatic to say that Megan and I have been working with a new grassroots volunteer group that is made up of passionate community members. Last week, we were able to meet with them to discuss what it is that we're bringing forward and to answer questions and go into a lot of detail. And that was with over 36 members of the Hampstead community. The group has begun to establish themselves, partner with the school district to promote the needs of our kids and amazing teachers. The group is called Hampstead Hearts, and it is a locally based, all-volunteer organization dedicated to the equity-driven growth of the community schools in the town of Hampstead. We look forward to continuing to partner with them and gain as much positive momentum ahead of the March 12th vote. I'd like to also say over the next few weeks, Megan and I are also meeting with other groups in town that have asked us to come and talk with them and asked us to share the information with their community groups. In that time, we'll continue what we've been doing, discuss the value of the warrant articles to support our children's education, have dialogue, answer questions, and really just bring to what we believe is the value of the warrant articles. We're also going to be scheduling, and we have already begun scheduling, no less than 5 Zoom calls over the next month and a half. This will be open to the community to attend, listen, as well as talk to us and ask us questions about the plan that they may not know. We will be communicating out some of those Zoom meetings shortly. We've also have put them on our brand new district website for this warrant article number 2 and warrant article number 4. So we're excited to announce we're going to walk through that website in just a moment. But first, we want to say thank you very much to Mr. Flynn and his team, Mike Shaw and Joe Dion, who've helped to develop the site. just a huge, huge appreciation of what they've been able to accomplish by working collaboratively with us in that partnership, that we had good dialogue with the team, and they were able to set up a website for us that we'll go over in a moment. I would also like to extend another part of appreciation to Mr. Jeff Mackey. He has helped by allowing us to walk through the school in detail, pointing out everything he's worked on, as well as areas of the improvement that the plan will address. New Year's Eve, he made himself available. So we want to say another special thank you to Mr. Mackey for being very attentive to this. At this time, I'll go ahead and share my screen, navigate through the site. And again, I want to say thank you, Mr. Flynn, your leadership, and to your team. It was instrumental in this. Just make sure I have everything ready. 1 second. All right. Share my screen. And share. Oops, that wasn't. Oh, that's all right. You can see that. All right. So can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. All right. So here's the brand new website that we've created for to support communication of the project. I'm going to go through it with everybody here in a little bit of detail. And we are looking at in the future for feedback, or we will be adding to this site as we learn more and hear more from the community. But as you can see down here, it's the header, and there's links throughout here. I'm not going to hit any of the links right now. I'm going to scroll down through the page and point out some of the areas that we want to make sure the community is it understands and notices. So again, as you can see, it tells us what this website will provide information for. First thing we have provided are the links to the Zoom calls that we have scheduled. Right now it's displaying 5. We do believe there'll be a 6th one added. And below that is more information about the Zoom links and the times. It'll be at 7 o'clock for each one of those dates that you see listed on January 21st, February 4th, February 16th, February 24th, March 2nd, and we do believe we'll add that 6th one for March 8th as well. During these meetings, at various times, we will have special invitees that will be joining us. On the February 18th, members from Trident will be joining us, as well as BPS and Dennis Myers Architects. And as we go down, there's number 5, that they'll be joining us also. And look at that, we already added number 6. So Mike Flynn's team is amazing. They already jumped on it. So info session number 6, the day before the vote, is already listed. Next, you'll find the presentations and documentation. So if you're looking to see the video that we had on the January 12th discussion, you will find the whole video right here underneath. These will go directly to that spot where we start talking about warrant article number 2 and warrant article number 4. And if you're looking for the material, the PowerPoint presentation, you can find that here. And we'll continue to add to this as we go along over the next 6 weeks. Down below, we talk about what are the key needs. I won't go through each one, I promise. Don't want to hear me talk that long, but you can walk through and you can see the key needs and the solutions that the warrant articles provide to each of those needs. Nice little feature. I got to say thank you, Mike Shaw, Mike Flynn's team member that did this. You scroll over here, you'll see the existing floor plan, and then you scroll over and you see the site improvements and what the school will look like if the warrant articles pass, pointing out what we will get out of this. Go down further. There are the schematics of what the new plans will be. You can click the views to enlarge. I won't do that. I won't just promise. If you click them, you'll see the big images. And you'll see a lot more detail to it. Again, it'll talk about what the warrant article number 2 right there will provide. Go down here. You show what the NASDAQ forecast is as of October of 2020. We know that based on recent discussions that this will be revised for next year, where we expect next year to actually increase from what we expected was in the high 480s up until about 505. So definitely I know this will be looking a lot different next year. As we go down through, there are pictures of what the current school looks like and what you're looking at. Then we scroll down even further. It gives you information about each one of these areas that will be improved in the if the warrant articles are passed. Scroll down underneath. It does give you a slight description of what you're looking at. the library that we've been talking about that's already been taken over, and next year will be utilized for a class and not the Ventures program and other say learning spaces. Go down, see where description of the nurses station, which is on the opposite end. You see the drop-off area and a little picture here that tells you how far that nurse's office is from the entrance. Going down further, it talks about Article 4 with the 60s wing, about what we get out of what the deficiencies are, more pictures of the classrooms and what you'll see in there. And lastly, what is the cost of this warrant article? All right, so I'm going to scroll quickly back up to the top to navigate. So most of these links will bring you into the homepage area. If you click information, oops, there we go. Oops. I'm going to work on that. There we go. Opens up and brings you right down here to just the information page on the homepage, down the information section. But if we go down here, if you click current building issues, again, it'll walk through and there's description of the school as well as what the warrant article 2 will address. Again, I won't go through all the words on this, but we give detailed information about the different parts of the warrant articles. And more information, more pictures to show you what it is that you're looking at. So I'm not going to go and talk about all these, but you can see the website does give us the detail we're looking for to provide to the community. There's also a frequently asked questions page where we have updated it based on questions that we received or comments we received through the thought exchange. So again, thank you, Mike Flynn, for helping us there to work with the leaders from Thought Exchange to get information out to the community and get information from the community. And we detailed question and answers based on what they've asked. And so we are continuing to update this as we receive more questions from the community. And lastly, we do have the calculate tax impact as we have done in the past. So what we've used for this is the 10-year bond that's being proposed with a 1.5% interest. If somebody was to add in what their home costs, we've been talking 400,000, calculate, and it'll tell you what you'll get per month based on whatever you put in there. With that, that's about all I have to show for the website right now. Definitely, I'll take any questions or comments from the board or administration on this.
I don't have any questions, but this seems like a really good team effort, just from you guys and from our tech team. I think this is great. I think it's straightforward and it's one place to get all the information. So thanks for the work on it.
Yeah, good website.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, I will stop sharing. I think that's all I had to present for the renovation for now.
Okay. We're just going to segue into the next item then, because David, you're going to speak to this as well, which is we need to talk about a mailer for the project. So David, do you want to speak to that? I know we're going to be probably talking about a motion, but.
Yep. So Megan and I have discussed this a number of times on, what's the best way to get the information to the voters. We've talked about mailers, we've talked about inserts into papers, we've talked about a lot of different things. The great news is by partnering with Hampstead Hearts, they're going to be taking up some things as well. They've already started to get donations to help. So we are going to be limiting what we're asking for to just help with want to put a motion in a moment for mailers to the community, one set of mailers, which would be we've got quotes from a couple different print agencies that will not only print, but as the board members have done in the past, also use their services to do the mailings as well, so that they'll do the postage, they'll send it out and get it to them ahead of the vote in March. We're talking about right now if it's going to be a postcard, if it'll be a two-sided mailer. you know, a bifold, etc. I think we're settling more closer to like a two-sided mailer. So we've got a few quotes for all these, and I'll answer any questions before I start talking about cost. Okay. No questions. So we've received a few quotes, and we believe we are going to be, well, you know, say below $2,000. So I'd like to make a motion for the board to vote on allocating $2,000 to support the warrant article number 2 and warrant article number 4 mailers to the community.
David, can I just suggest, can we add language not to exceed $2,000?
Yes, not to exceed 2,000.
Okay, great. Great, thank you. Melissa, do you have that?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. I know David asked for questions before, but does any board members have any questions on this? Okay, it's pretty standard for what we've done in the past, including on price. So, all right, Melissa, will you please call the roll vote?
Ms. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mrs. Yusenka.
No.
Okay, thank you. The motion does carry. 4 in favor, 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Our 2021 deliberative session planning. We talked about this a little bit last time. I can give the update where we are right now. At this point, we have to plan for an in-person deliberative next Tuesday. I will say I've had a lot of discussions over the last couple of days on this, both with our district council. Governor Sununu did put out an emergency order, number 83, if anyone wants to look it up, to allow towns and districts to move or postpone both their deliberative and their voting. However, it does make sense to have the town and the school district keeping on the same timeline. And at this point, although the school board can make its own decision and the town can make its own decision, we run into some roadblocks if that happens. After reaching out to our Board of Selectmen, what they have told me is at this point, they intend to move forward with their in-person town deliberative next week. So at this point, we shall have to plan for an in-person. Board members, I am aware that not everyone is able to attend in person, and that's absolutely fine. I did also speak with council, and we can work to have remote access for board members. We're still working on whether that's going to be a Zoom option or a phone option. But you will still be able to attend as a board member, and we actually don't have a quorum requirement for this meeting because it's not technically a board meeting. It's the first part of voting. So I do want to mention, you know, we have been communicating with our moderator. He has a lot of say in this, and he feels he can do this safely at this point. Obviously, within COVID, things change quickly. If something was to arise, we'll obviously notify everyone in town to the best of our ability, but at this point, we will plan for an in-person. I do need to say to members of the public, you have to be there in person to participate, and that is an unfortunate issue with this right now. We cannot have remote participation to make comments or to ask questions or to attempt any changes to a warrant article, because we cannot confirm identification in an appropriate way for a remote option for a deliberative. To be quite honest, I don't love this option. I think it doesn't, I don't think it gives everyone the opportunity to participate to the extent that they should be able to. And I know that there are people who will not be able to attend because of health concerns. Right now, we're in a situation where it seems as though we need to be in person. So that's where we are right now. I do want to clarify, because I mentioned before about board members being able to participate via a remote option. That only applies to if they are answering a question or giving some sort of information. Same as with our administrators. If our administrators are participating remotely, it will be to answer questions. If there was anything within deliberative that came up as a vote, if anyone has attended deliberative, there are times that things come up for a vote to be changed, etc. No one who is participating remotely will be able to vote in that capacity. So even if a board member is participating or an administrator who lives in town, if they're participating remotely, they cannot vote on a deliberative item. However, board members, as you know, there are times that we may have a special meeting after our deliberative should any items on the warrant be changed because we need to revote on our recommendations. If we get to that situation, we will have a separate meeting that night. Likely what will happen is, for example, at this point, I will plan to be there in person. So if we do have to have that special meeting, we will delay it for about 15 minutes so that I can get back home and any other board members can get back home who are at the deliberative, and we will hold it as a public meeting via Zoom. So that's what we'll do should there be anything that is changed. So again, this is really just to update everybody. I don't think it's the best option, but frankly, having two separate elections or voting days does nothing to reduce anyone's risk of having to be out twice. So this is where we are right now. I don't know if board members have any questions, if you have anything that I haven't spoken to, please.
If
Go
no
ahead and
board
speak up.
members, no board members have comment, could I?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
Okay, so obviously, to kind of just to reiterate, say again, what you're saying, that, administrative staff, I'm not sure what you'll have there for support. Those will be individual decisions. We're not making judgments, just like you said, on why people can or cannot be there or whether they will or they won't. That being said, Melissa pointed out earlier in the evening, so I wanted to take this opportunity to ask, in the event that you need the PowerPoint changed at all or something like we've had in the past, Melissa has volunteered to kind of put that together, but she just wanted some direction on that so that you have exactly what you need in order to be able to, run through what you want to run through at the deliberative session. My other question really is, okay, so questions come up that board members may or may not be able to answer that are there in person. Will someone be able to field the questions from the community that's not there in person or not? When you said not participate, so.
Sorry, yes, you will be. So for instance, Dr. Metzler, if somebody asked a question that you had the answer to, you would be able to answer the question. What I meant as far as participating is not in your role as an administrator or a board member, but in your role as a resident of Hampstead.
Excellent. I understood that. I guess for me now, it's going to be, we should talk about how we're going to field those questions and how they'll be answered, right? So if there's going to be, an opportunity to be on a screen and speak from home on a computer so that the people in the room can see and the people, I guess that's the technical issues. We got to make sure that we figure that out so that it's not awkward when, if and when a questions get asked that you can't answer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're working that out.
Okay.
See how
But
we can do it.
I guess for the public though, that will be I guess we should say it. That will be worked out. We will be able to
Yes.
get you the answers to your questions and communicate them to you in real time, somehow, some way. We're just trying to figure out the best way to do that now.
Yep.
Okay. That's all I
Okay.
had. And so if you
Sorry.
could just, yeah, and you could either work through me or directly through Melissa about what you want for materials and the distribution and all that kind of, prior to, because I know Melissa, right? You'll probably be working on that, from the minute we jump off tonight, right up till Tuesday afternoon, right? So.
It's on my schedule tomorrow morning, first thing. So
Great.
thank you.
So, all right. So I think we're in good shape for the shape we're in, right?
It's as good a shape we're going to get, I think, at this point, I guess. Did anybody else have David, was your hand up before? I kind of lost it in the beautiful school behind you. I couldn't see if your hand was up. Yeah, it was up. Okay.
My only question was, are we still planning on having it in the cafeteria of the middle school, or would we look at having it in a larger area like the gymnasium or anything?
So from what I understand, and this might be more a question that Mike can answer, we don't have cable capabilities from the gym as far as I know. We have that set up in the cafeteria. But Mike, I don't want to throw you on the spot about that, but I think that's what I remember.
Just to follow up, the last time we met, I had asked if it's a requirement to have it on the cable station, or if we were going to do it via Zoom or something. Does that negate the need for doing that? So, just out of curiosity, we're all concerned about making sure we have enough space between us. Just if that's going to be an option or not to keep the community safe for those that want to attend.
So besides the cable point, in order for us to do anything that we just discussed in regards to Zooming people in and participating, it needs to happen in the cafeteria. So that's irregardless of cable. It has to do with our other equipment that we're going to need to set up with the team so that everything can operate correctly.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Not many people come anyways, and with COVID, I think we're gonna have even less. So you could probably space people 20 feet apart and fit them in the cafeteria.
I think we measured, I think Mr. Mackey measured today, and with 6 feet, I think he said about 50. That could be, as Mr. Sweeney said, depending on who shows up.
Okay.
But we need to be prepared in the event that more than 50 people show up, even though that we don't expect it. If that, then what? Because we can't have people not socially distant in a cafeteria for a public meeting, right? I mean,
I know we had sort of thrown around the idea of what terminology we use? Like simulcast to the gym for additional people, or like.
You need to have your vote counters be able to cover all those, any other rooms or areas, and validate that who's in the room as a registered voter.
Okay, but can we like project to those other rooms?
Well, we obviously can project to another room. I think the other part we're going to run into is if somebody calls for a secret ballot, that's going to be a nightmare, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Right?
I mean, it's unfortunate.
So these are some of the things you need to take into consideration that will invalidate the entire process, right? If we if we do something wrong because we can't do something, right? That's what we really need answers to those questions, because it happens a lot. The secret ballot thing happens a lot at deliberative sessions when you have issues on a ballot that are controversial, and they believe, a lot of times it happens because they believe some people don't want to vote, will vote differently privately than they would publicly. So I don't know.
well, I will, I think what I'll need to do then is reach out to the town and see what their plan is. Since they're the ones, I mean, really our ballot. Ballot counters and everything, they're generally, they come from the town side, but I mean, we have, okay, I will put that on my list to reach out to the town, see what they're planning, and reach out to our moderator to coordinate.
Yeah, some of these things are coming up now as we're having this discussion publicly. So, right. So I'm bringing them forward. That's like if we go over a certain number of people, then what? You know, I think those are things we need answers to, because we don't want it to invalidate the process, right? That's the.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. And obviously I don't have the answers right now, so I'll reach out to the town, see what they're saying.
It's important that our moderator, I mean, we're having this discussion, but our moderator needs to know what to do, right? Because he's going to be running this meeting.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else on deliberative items? Okay, obviously we still have work to do, and I'll be on that for the next few days. Okay. Oh, next up, we have some exciting news. We have a letter of interest to fill in for the school district clerk. Hallelujah, right in the nick of time. So board members, I had sent this to you earlier. We have a resident in town, Lisa DeMayo. She is interested in filling in for the 2021 deliberative session election to be appointed as school district clerk. Lisa has lived in town for 22 years, and she's interested in having this opportunity to serve in this capacity. And she has some experience that will help with our election process here. So if possible, I would like a motion to appoint Lisa DeMayo as Hampstead School District Clerk for the 2021 deliberative session and election. I think that's the right wording. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Karen. Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. Melissa, will you please call the roll vote?
Ms. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes, with thanks.
Mr. Smith,
Yes, ditto.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mrs. Yusenka.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. All in favor. Thank you, school board. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much. And Lisa, if you're watching, I think we're also going to get you in touch with our esteemed former clerk, Mrs. Lacasse, who has generously offered to kind of lend a experienced ear for this. So we'll get you in touch with her. Thank you again. Okay, moving along. Dr. Metzler, you're going to talk to us about the central school principal job posting.
Great, thank you. So our intention would be to introduce the team on the 9th of February, once we've solidified people's interest. I would ask if there are people, when you hear these different categories, if you are interested, if you would send, and just so it's not one person, if you would send an email to myself and Mr. Flynn, that would be helpful. But we're looking at a team of 9. We typically would do these kind of searches internal and bring you forward a candidate, but we're going to make this slightly more public. We certainly want to include as many people as we can in the process without including so many people that it bogs the whole process down. I can tell you that since we've made this public, I've heard from some really good principals in other districts that are interested. So I think we're excited about what this posting, this pool could potentially get for you. So we're talking 2 central office employees, 2 administrators. We're going to have all the associations represented, which are 3. I'm going to have a parent, and then we have a community leader, community/business leader for a team of 9. Our intention was to have this posted by next Friday, which would be the 4th, I believe, or the 5th. We would close a month later. The screening committee could get candidates by the 8th of March. First round of interviews around the 15th of March. Finalist around the 22nd of March. Then with the school board chair before we bring to the board for bring forward a nomination on the 29th of March. So we think we could have this all wrapped up and have a principal sitting in early April at some point. That was the process. Like I said, we hope to introduce team members at our next meeting on the 9th. And that's pretty much where it is. We worked on the posting. The posting is pretty standard, principal's job. Their responsibilities are pretty clear. And so we're ready to go. So that's kind of where that is.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Metzler.
All right. If the board would like, we can type this up more, and give you something more official to look at. But Mike and I were still talking about what the team would look like as late this afternoon still, because we were struggling with a number and we didn't want it to get too big. We wanted to make sure everybody was, so we can get you something formal with the dates, get that posted so people can see what the process is. But I think the most important thing was to talk about getting the posting by the end of next week, and then obviously asking for people's that want to participate can reach out to the union leader, to the union leadership to make sure we get members from each association. But other than that, we're in good shape. So that's where we are.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions from board members on that one? Okay. Last item on current business, we have some policies. As you recall, the policy committee is reviewing SAU policies in preparation for our transition to a single district SAU. So these all apply to, they are SAU policies that we're talking about here. So what we're looking at is the policy committee recommends that we waive second read and repeal the following policies effective July 1, 2021. And these would be SAU 55 policy BBBH, Organization and Operation of SAU Board, BCA SAU 55 Board Code of Ethics, BCAX SAU 55 Board Code of Ethics, BDD Board Superintendent Relationship, BDDR Board Superintendent Relations, BDG School Attorney, BDH Consultant. So all of these essentially have duplicate Hampstead district policies. So the recommendation by the policy committee is both to waive second read and to repeal these effective July 1, 2021. So assuming board members have reviewed these, could I have a motion to waive second read and repeal the listed policies effective July 1, 2021?
So moved.
Thank you, Karen. Do we have a second?
Second.
I think Jim said second, or David said, I don't know, whoever took their mic off first.
Sorry about
David got it.
that.
Okay, we'll give it to David. Any questions on this from anyone? Okay, seeing none. Melissa, will you please call the roll vote?
Ms. Malcolm?
Mrs. Malcolm told me she may have needed to step out for a minute. I'm not sure if that's what's up, but she did tell me she was maybe going to need to step out. So.
Okay, I'll come back to her at the end and see if she's back.
Okay.
Mrs. Parnell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mrs. Yasenka,
Yes.
and we'll try Ms. Malcolm one more time. Okay, I will not cast her vote. The motion carries 4 in favor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. Okay, next up, we're going to go to board comments and correspondence. Going to go to David first.
I think the only thing is there was an announcement from the middle school about a play that they're going to be doing virtually, which I think is amazing. And I think a lot of people in the community are looking forward to that. So hats off to Ms. Nola and the entire team at the middle school. Can't say enough. Can't wait to hear more about it. And maybe at the next board meeting, we can just get an update about what that's going to entail and a little bit more detail. That's all I've got for correspondence.
David, did you have one more thing you wanted to talk about? You attended a...
I was going to hold that under other business, but I can do it under correspondence. You want to do that?
Yeah, let's go to course. Let's do it now, if you don't mind.
Yep. So if everybody remembers, I think it was last month or may have been in December, we talked about that I would be sitting in on some meetings with the selectmen and other members of the town to talk about their master plan, their 5-10-year plan with their facilities. We had our first meeting this past Friday where we talked about just a few items that were on the agenda. Didn't go through all the detail, but one area that relates to us and about actually the central school and just about both our schools was there's a discussion going on from the selectmen in their team about what's going to happen with the Memorial Gym in the future. There's discussions about the Memorial Gym of whether or not they're going to continue to repair it in the future or it'll be raised or whatnot. So what we were talking about was if it got renovated or raised, either way, would us, the school board, entertain discussions about, for those members of the community that are using the Memorial Gym for before and after schools, if there would be an appetite for the board to talk about allowing members of the community to use either Central and or Memorial Gym. And my comment was, well, we can't say right now because we don't know what's going to happen when you're at that point, but they would like to engage in conversation in the future about, is that a possibility that could happen, as that would help to, navigate which way they go with a decision about the Memorial Gym, and could we form some sort of partnership and ultimately for the town that would save money and provide value of the gyms that are already here in our district, but in our town. So definitely did not confirm that we would. I said I would bring it back to the board for discussion about, is that something we can begin to discuss what that would mean and get into more details with the administration for operations, understanding what that entails for more detail. But before we could even get to that point, I wanted to bring it to this board and answer any questions or have any dialogue about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good conversation to have. It's certainly an easier conversation to have if we have a gym at Central School, which is fully dedicated to being a gym,
right, rather
than a cafeteria, and a gym and a music room, et cetera,
right,
et cetera. And David, I just to confirm, they're talking about outside of school hours, right? This isn't like something that they're asking.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
This would be, and we didn't get to the detail of, is it between 5 and 7, whatever in the morning, and then it's at 6, and there'd be a lot more detailed in discussions for sure. They just want to know, would we be open to start having those discussions, what that would mean, and that will help weigh in on their decisions, what they're going to do with Memorial Gym in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're right. It's not totally a board decision. Like you mentioned, you had said, like, it's an admin discussion too. Because obviously whoever's administering those buildings, I know that's who you go through anyways to fill out forms to use part of the building for anything anyways. So I'm assuming they're not looking for like a decision like right now, just
no,
that we would.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Kind of putting it out there as something to, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you know, and how I left it, and Sean Murphy and I had discussed about this, is that, you know, this just raises why it's important for the town to look at the value of an addition to the central school. This way, we're not solving just something for the central school, we're solving something for the town if this was able to happen. You know, and we highlighted that, you know, with the new gym, or I should say a dedicated gym, we would have a more secure entryway as well with the if the addition passes. So it makes it easier to, you know, allow, if we were to, you know, deem that in the future, non-students, non-faculty, non-administrators to use those facilities than it is right now. Without the addition, I don't see the way to do that. So I think it brings value to the community, highlights a need, and, you know, just a win-win, I think.
Okay. Any other board members have questions on that one? I know we're kind of under correspondence and comments, but thought it was important to talk to that. Okay, thanks, David. I'm gonna go, who do I see next? Jim, do you have anything for?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Karen?
Yeah, Caitlin, I have a question about something that was brought up before. It's not really a comment, but unless someone has a definite answer, would you mind checking with Dean on the ability for the board to accept private donations for a board-sponsored flyer? I know that in the past, when flyers were put out by people other than the board, were paid for by the board, they were put out by those special groups or organizations, but not by the board.
Oh, wait, I think, yeah, so you're talking about what David had mentioned?
Yeah, I just want to make sure
Okay.
that the donations that are set in would actually be able to be accepted.
So,
Well, I think, sorry, go ahead, David. Yeah, go.
so Karen, let me just in case I mix my words. That group is getting donations for themselves on their own private flyers or their own private information that they would be communicating, like, you know, yard signs or other ways to provide information to the fellow community of the needs of the students. It would not be with anything to do with school board name on it, etc.
Okay, perfect. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, Megan, do you have anything under comments or correspondence?
I do not.
Okay, I don't have anything either for under board comments. So we'll move on to consent agenda. Dr. Metzler, I believe we have a personnel report this week.
We do. Can I do the regular thing first and then do the personnel
Oh, sure.
report?
Sorry, I was looking at
it's
my list. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I know people are probably looking outside their windows and they see it snowing, and so you know, Mr. Flynn and I are discussing. It doesn't look like it's going to be a lot, but we'll, you know, again, I think we're blizzard bagged out. So in the event that snow does not allow us to conduct school tomorrow, we would do it like a traditional snow day. That would be the second one, right? I'm not hearing any resistance there, right? So, you know, I think enough electronic work has been collected, assigned, and done, going all the way back to March 13th. So it would only be the second one. I think we're in really good shape for hours and those sorts of things. But it doesn't look like a big storm, but we are having those discussions. In your packets, as promised, I thank Mr. Flynn for this, your NSDEC refresher. So you have that information in your packets. One thing I'm really excited to share with you, you know, we and I kept promising this, which is, you know, we'll get to the behavior management, we'll get to the classroom management, we'll get to that at some point. So, you know, lots of districts, almost all districts, you know, we've been pandemic focused. We have pandemic fatigue. All of our planning, safe learning plans, everything, remote learning, virtual learning. You know, you spend all this time, and, you know, in the meantime, there's the other work that you need to be doing. And what's that work? You need to have a strategic plan as a board. You know, you need to have a strategic plan as a district, and we need to be strategic about our planning to meet your goals, right? So behavior management had been something that we had talked a lot about, and you I had an opportunity to investigate, explore and find what I think is a plan that will help Hampstead, address that goal. And within that behavior management plan, classroom management, if you will, and we're tying it into professional development for staff and for admin. We're looking at differentiated instruction. Now, our staff differentiates instruction, does it very well, but we need to expand that a bit because that ties into behavior management. When you start addressing learning styles and sometimes when you struggle with particular students in your class, whether it's social emotional, whether it's academic concerns, whatever, a lot of times differentiating the instruction to making sure that their learning style is being addressed. And you hear it all the time, hands-on, or I'm a visual learner. I learn better by listening. I learn better by doing. I learn better working in groups, those sorts of things. Differentiating your instruction is not just about using technology. It's about so many different things. And looking at a comprehensive plan, professional development. And, our staff has, pretty much been, asked to develop themselves for a bit here. And so we want to make sure that we give them that kind of professional development and not tying them up on webinars, but providing them potentially, some materials that they can review. And this is all staff, mind you, all staff that has direct impact with students, meaning our paras as well, providing them with some of those materials so that they can, when we come back, it's going to be a new normal. Different, instruction is going to look and feel different. And this is when we're back in person 5 days a week. We're gonna need to manage our classrooms a little bit differently. There's just a lot of things are gonna look and feel a little different. And so what we really wanted Hampstead to have is a strategic plan. So when we're ready to come back, that we're not trying to figure that out, that we've done all this work and we've done the professional development while we're addressing the pandemic. So we've acquired some materials. We have a good plan in place. We have some talk about what can get done over the summer and into the fall with some training that will directly impact how classrooms are managed, how behavior is addressed. Certainly respecting the classroom teacher in a sense of having the autonomy in their room, but also looking at this from both a district and a building leadership to make sure that we're doing it the way Hampstead wants it done. And at the same time, again, differentiating instruction because that'll impact how classrooms get managed. And making this part of the professional development for staff that we owe them, right? Because, we need to develop them just like we all need this. We all need to professionally develop to get better at what we do, find out what we do well and find out what we need work on. And we've identified this as a district. This has been something we've talked about. That's something that we needed to look at and we are. And now at the same time, while we've done that, and Jeff is going to be probably the greatest beneficiary of this particular thing. Is you approved a new business platform so that everything can be done on the same platform electronically. And so I think our efficiency and our effectiveness moving forward as the Hampstead School District, as a single district SAU, will be great. So I think we positioned ourselves. Now, it's not just about where the next office is and who's going to be in it. It's all this other stuff too that I think we positioned ourselves really well. We're going to continue to work on that. Mr. Flynn and I'm working with a couple of different vendors to make sure that all those materials and all those plans are in place so that, like I said, when we come back, staff will be able to hit the ground running and be working on these things as we get back to school. So we're really excited about that. That's something that, Caitlin and I've talked to board members about it, but we didn't get a chance to really talk about it publicly. So that's the work that really should not be neglected while we're dealing with all this pandemic. So we're in good shape there. Secondly, I brought up a number of times and I've asked Jeff to do, what are we doing about food service? What are we doing about bus contracts? What are we doing about all these different things? And I think, we've been granted, according, to Jeff, we've been granted some leniency. So I know people are looking like, when are these things going to go out to bid? They may not go out to bid. We have great vendors. Our relationships are really good with the vendors we currently have. It's not a real good time to be making major changes. Food service, buses, those, you really want to keep as much stability as you possibly can as you move through a pandemic and into what will be the new normal. So if Jeff's getting the okay with the DOE to kind of stay with the vendors, that's good. That's smart, right? Not making major change in the middle of a pandemic. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So we're in good shape there. So that's the administrator's report. This is kind of like one of those things where, you're kind of happy and sad and happy at the same time. I'm glad that this is a standalone item because this deserves the kind of attention that I know this board will give it. I know that we have our central principal, Mr. Collins, Principal Collins, Dillard, has announced his retirement. He's done it officially, and it's on the personnel report finally. And so all I can tell you is, having moved from Massachusetts to New Hampshire, all I can say is thank you, Dillard. I learned a lot from you. I learned a lot about New Hampshire from you. I learned a lot about Hampstead from you. I learned a lot about many things. You've just done a really, really good job in so many ways. I've said it a million times. Nobody is more comprehensive in addressing an issue than you. You've made a lot of things easy on the central office, and because when we asked you to do things, there was no stone unturned. So we congratulate you, and I know the board is going to probably have some things to say. So all I can say is thank you and congratulations, and well deserved. And your decade upon decade upon decade, 4 decades, and then some here in Hampstead is so valued and appreciated by so many families, mine included. So thank you for your time. And Caitlin, if you would go from there with the board, I guess, in terms of Principal Collins.
Yes, thank you. We'll get to a motion. I'm going to say something just for real quick. I've had quite an arc with Mr. Collins, and I really have a hard time calling him anything but Mr. Collins. He was my music teacher at Hampstead Middle School. He was my trumpet teacher, the band director. So to take that arc and have him become the principal at Central School, when I came back to Hampstead, all of my children have gone through and had Mr. Collins as their principal. I may have had a child or two who spent some time with him when needed, and he always handled all of those situations with grace. And nothing we're going to say, and I certainly welcome any other board member to say anything, nothing, no matter how many times we say thank you or talk about your accolades, will be enough for how much you've given this town. The time you have spent here, the time that that I have spent with you as a board member, those weekend days when we've been trying to get the addition passed, when you have championed that with us and have been here giving tours to anyone who wanted it, and being an advocate for our students and for our teachers. I'll say thank you. It's not enough, but I'll still say it as inadequate as those words are. You will be very missed. You have built a good team to carry on what you've been doing for many, many years. Any other board members have anything they would like to say before I ask for a motion? Did I cover it all?
Well, it's, he's not leaving yet. And I wouldn't want to say my goodbyes over Zoom. But just the deep caring for the education of children. You see that, you hear it when you talk to them. So, I will say my goodbyes in person when that happens. But anyways, that's all I have to say.
Okay.
I'm not going to say goodbye either. I agree with you, Jim. Definitely in person. I just know that Mr. Collins, you are a treasure in this town, and you bring more than a lot of principals I've ever dealt with as a student. And I know other students just love you and rave about you for years later. And I know why. It's not just the education. You really care about them. Personally, you've helped my family out in difficult situations. And, I can't tell you enough how much warm thoughts I have of things that you've done, not only for my family, but for other families that I've heard. And that's why it makes you special. And just thank you.
Okay. At this point, can I have a motion to accept the retirement of our Central School principal, Mr. Dillard Collins, with regret?
I'm not doing it. You might have to stay, Mr. Collins, because I'm not like I usually do. Who's gonna do it?
I'll do it. I make the motion. We got to let him free at some point.
I refuse.
Do we have a second? I can't second it as well, so somebody's got to second it.
Second.
Thank you, Karen. Any further comments? Okay. Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes, again, with regret and congratulations.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
and Mrs. Yusenka.
Yes.
You were
Thank
gonna,
you.
I thought you were going to say no, Jim.
I was going to say no, actually. Changed my mind last second.
I see Mr. Collins up here. I'm not going to like call him out beyond
Well,
saying that he's here.
I promoted him just in case he wanted to jump in, but I'm not sure. So,
Mr. Collins. There he is.
I'm here with my wife, and I just want to say thank you. The reason we are doing this is it's time for us to move on, spend more time with our grandchildren. It's 40 years in Hampstead, and I think it's time. So I appreciate your many kind thoughts. And yes, I'll be around until July, and I'll be back to help out. Just give me a call. I'm not that far away, but thank you very much for your many kind words. Have a good evening. And Mr. Sweeney, maybe I'll see you in person someday before June 30th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that was a bummer. Just kidding. And congratulations. Look, I'm really happy Mr. Collins gets to go retire and spend time with his grandkids. So I don't want to harp on that too much. So I do have one item for other business because this needs to be under other business because we get Melissa gets these agendas ready ahead of time, and we hadn't quite reached the point that I could be sure we were putting it on the agenda. I wanted to do an update on our search committee for our superintendent position. Search committee has been meeting, and we have held interviews, and we will be in the next day or so announcing 2 finalists for that position. I'm not ready to announce the finalists yet because we're still working on notifying everybody, and I think that would be inappropriate until we've made sure that everybody who was interviewed had communication from us. So, but what I did want to speak to additionally is to give a little more information about what the next steps will be. So as I said, the committee has chosen 2 finalists, and what we're going to do next steps for those finalists will be, first we're going to have them come to Hampstead to walk through our schools. This is going to be different than the way things have been done in the past. We are going to conduct these visits outside of school hours. We do not want to bring more people into the school while the kids are there. So we are going to conduct these after hours, after school hours. So they'll come in, they'll get to tour the middle school with a few members of the search committee, and then they will move to the central school and do the same there with some members of the committee. For additional safety, we're actually really trying to keep the committee members who work in each school be the ones who do those tours. We will then be doing staff forums. So each of those candidates will meet via Zoom with our staff in both schools to be able to introduce themselves, to answer questions from the staff. And then additionally, we are going to have a public forum. The way that that's going to look is each candidate will have a designated amount of time. This will also be conducted over Zoom, and we will be able to have members of the public submit questions ahead of time and also submit questions during those forums so that the community can meet these candidates and hear more about them and get to know them. The additional item that the committee will be conducting is, let me explain first. In a normal situation, a hiring committee would actually go to the current workplace of finalists, and the finalists would get to bring together members of their workplace, their district, who the committee would then get to talk to and really get a feel for these candidates and how they are on a day-to-day basis and how they are to work for. We're not going to do that again, because just like we're having these candidates come to the schools outside of ours, we don't want to bring ourselves to their workplace, their schools, their districts, when there are other people there. So instead, we're going to do that virtually. And the way that works is we do ask the candidates to put together a group of people. They can be, typically it's teachers, it's administrators in their district. A lot of times it's also volunteers in their district that they've worked with. So they'll get to pick their group, and our committee will get to sit and virtually over Zoom and talk to them. This is all going to be happening over the next about 3 weeks. Our target right now as a committee would be to bring forward a nomination the 3rd week of February. Not 100% sure yet on dates there, but that will be the goal, is that we will have a nomination at that point, hopefully. So I did want to give everyone an update on that. And as I said, there will be a press release which will go out on through the district that introduces the finalists, and we'll go from there. So that can be expected before the end of the week, likely Thursday, I think. I did also want to say that to tamp down speculation or anything else, we did not have internal candidates for this position. So I don't want anyone to think that somebody who was already here got passed over or anything like that. So we did not have internal candidates. We had a lot of great candidates from outside the district, and I believe the committee is excited to bring forward our nomination when that happens. So that's about it for that. Does anybody else have any old or other business?
Yeah, Caitlin, I do.
Yes.
Hi.
David, go ahead.
Yeah, I apologize. Earlier I said we wouldn't talk about costs with the renovation plan. There's one update. Mr. Dowd and I have been passing notes back and forth across the table about it. And we want to talk really quickly about the bond rate because what we've communicated in the past has been the bond rate was 1.5%. We've been talking about it because we've been conservative because we're waiting for the latest numbers that Mr. Dowd has been working with. And I know Mr. Dowd's there, and if you want to add anything after I say the great news that Mr. Dowd has said is that we are looking at 1.5 conservatively. The New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank, their actuals have been better than the estimates by at least 0.5 point. So we are looking, cross our fingers, but we're going to get some, more information that Mr. Dowd's going to get at in the coming week or weeks. But we are looking at a lower interest rate than 1.5%. Mr. Dowd, would you want to say anything in addition?
Well, the rate that we're using for the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank really is a budget rate. It's a safe budget rate, but in fairness, the sales have been lower. That's not a guarantee of any lower rate that we may get. We have to budget on the higher end, but I'm much happier to be in this type of an environment than to be in one that the rates are going to be very, very tight or very, very close. It seems that the rates have been, I think their latest sell rates are in the 1% range, less than that actually, which is from a construction financing perspective is just an incredible time for interest rates to be able to undertake a project of this scope and size. At this time, again, I've been given a 1.5% interest rate from the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank, and that's what we're that's what we're using, but certainly it's just, I'm beside myself at what these rates are coming in at for these projects. It's very, very, very easy to finance this over time.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Dodd.
All right. Thank you. That's some good news. Also another reason that this is a good project at this time. Okay, anything else? Okay. With that, I am going to ask for a motion for a non-public. I'm going to ask for that under RSA 91A:3, Section 2, C, matters of reputation. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
You're welcome.
Second.
Megan?
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm.
Melissa, will you please call the roll vote?
Yes, Ms. Malcolm,
Yes.
Mrs. Parnell,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
Mrs. Yasenka.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries. It is about 8:55 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Board members, you have a link in your email from me. Members of the public, we are not making any decisions. We will not be returning. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you.